friends. Welcome to Story Behind Podcast. This is the show for people who love hearing a good story and who believe the world could use more positivity. We're the team behind GodUpdates and God2, and we hope these weekly short stories will brighten your day.
Santa and Mrs. Claus continue to spread Christmas magic even with Santa's MS diagnosis. Written by Heather Riggleman, read by Julie Provost. It's easy to believe that pain or illness disqualifies us from being used by God. But Santa and Mrs. Claus continue to spread Christmas magic even with Santa's MS diagnosis. When life seems heavy, it can seem impossible to imagine how we can bring joy to others. But Roger Minton's story reminds us that God often works through our brokenness to reveal his greatest glory. Roger Minton, known as Santa to children across Michigan, was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in 2022. This news could have been devastating for someone whose mission is to bring Christmas magic to life. Yet Roger didn't give up. It didn't stop him from digging out his Santa suit and bleaching his beard snow white. "I really love that just because I look like this, it brings a lot of joy to people," he said, determined to keep playing the role of Santa that he loved since 2008. What keeps him going is something so simple and yet so powerful. Love. Love keeps him going. With the support of his wife Erica and a new treatment plan, Roger presses on, finding creative ways to manage his symptoms while still spreading holiday cheer. He keeps going even when his body aches after hours in the Santa. He said, "I'm like, guess what, jolly man? Get your butt up. Let's have a cookie and we're going to go do this," she says. We both have our darker moments, as I think everybody does. There are times when life beats you down repeatedly and it gets really hard. This is the beauty of how God works. When we feel weak, his strength carries us. Roger's wife Erica, who plays Mrs. Claus alongside him, echoes this truth. When everything else hurts and everyone's tough, the greatest thing you can do is love somebody else, she says. They show how love and faith can sustain us even in the most challenging seasons. Their story inspires us to ask, how might God want to use us, even in our pain? Like Roger and Erica, we don't have to be free of struggle to make a difference. Sometimes our most significant impact comes when we allow God to shine through our challenges. If you're walking through a difficult season, take heart. God isn't done with you yet. He can use your story, your love, and even your pain to bring joy to others and point them to his goodness, even adding magic to a wondrous season like Roger and Erica. Christmas tree planted back in 1979 inspires and unites a small English village. Written by Heather Riggleman, read by Julie Provost. A Christmas tree planted back in 1979 inspires and unites a small English village each year. Who knew the wonder, inspiration, and community a tiny little sapling purchased for just a mere $6 in 1978 to celebrate their first year in their home would become such a wondrous sight? Avril and Christopher Rowlands bought the tree to commemorate the first Christmas in their home. They had no idea that decades later the entire village would come to their home for the annual tree lighting. Its glow has inspired an entire community for decades, and it all started with a simple act of love and faith. For 45 years, they nurtured that little tree and lovingly draped it in Christmas lights. What began as a small symbol of their love grew into a 52-foot spectacle visible for miles around. Now, every December, they use a cherry picker machine to drape the large tree in lights, and the community joins them in lighting the tree. It is a beautiful reminder of how God works in our lives. Often we may feel like our efforts are small, insignificant, or unnoticed, but in his timing and with his love, those small acts of faith can grow into something much more significant than we could ever imagine. The tree and ink barrel didn't just grow tall, it became a symbol of Christmas hope for the entire town, a reminder that light always overcomes darkness. I encourage you to think of the light you can bring into the world this Christmas season. It may be smaller than a sapling, but it will have a more significant impact than you can imagine. Let's remember that God can use even the smallest of things to illuminate the world around us. Matthew 5:16. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that you may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven.
Thank you so much for listening to Story Behind Podcast. We're really glad you joined us for this week's story. To see photos and videos that may have been referenced in this episode, check out the links in the show notes. And if you enjoyed what you heard today, subscribe to our podcast, and please tell a friend about us. We'd also love it if you'd rate us and leave us a review. It really does help more people find us. Story Behind is a Salem Web Network production.
Hi, I'm Zach.
And I'm Randy.
And we're from Salty Saints Podcast. We're a theology and apologetics podcast.
We hope to better equip you to be salt and light for your community. We hope that we can help you to go out and be a reflection of Jesus Christ to those around you, to your friends and your family, and especially to those that do not know Christ.
To find out more, subscribe at lifeaudio.com.